Okay, let's talk about that one thing that kills more great ideas than anything else, the endless looping cycle of getting ready. We're going to talk about how to break that cycle, stop just researching, and actually start winning.
Does this feel a little too familiar? I mean, look at this. You're just surrounded, maybe buried, under books, courses, articles, podcasts, all in the name of research. And you tell yourself it's productive, but your real work, it's just sitting over there collecting dust, waiting for you to actually start.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. All that time you spend getting ready, it isn't free. In fact, it might be the most expensive time there is, because it's time you're not doing. It's the cost of delay, the cost of momentum you never build.
Now look, if you're stuck in this loop, I want to be really clear. It's not because you're lazy, not at all. It's actually a neurological trap, and it's so sneaky because it disguises itself as productivity. So let's get into why your brain actually prefers to just keep learning instead of doing.
Here's what's happening inside your head. Every time you learn a cool new fact or a new technique, your brain gets this tiny, satisfying little hit of dopamine. It feels good. It feels like you've accomplished something. But actually doing the work, well, that involves friction, uncertainty, maybe even failure. So your brain, being the smart, energy-conserving machine it is, will almost always choose that easy, feel-good win of learning over the hard work of creating.
And here's the paradox of all that preparation. There's this thing called cognitive load theory. A simple way to think about it is this. Every new piece of information you cram into your head adds more mental weight. So instead of making the task easier, it actually makes the simple act of starting feel heavier, more intimidating. You think you're building a foundation, but what you're really doing is building a wall between you and the work.
And think about the return on your time investment here. It's not great. As a rule of thumb, for every 10 hours you spend just passively consuming information, you might get 1 hour of something you can actually use. 10 hours in, 1 hour out. That's a terribly inefficient way to make progress. There's got to be a better way, right?
And the costs of staying in this trap are huge. First, your brain's whole reward system gets hijacked. It starts craving the consumption, not the creation. Second, momentum. It's dead on arrival. You can't build it if you never start. Third, that low-grade anxiety just keeps growing with every single day you put it off. And maybe worst of all, you start to change how you see yourself. You become an aspirator, someone who's going to do great things instead of a doer, someone who just does them.
All right, so that's the problem. Enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. And it's a beautifully simple system designed to do one thing, force you into action. It's called the 1 hour rule.
Okay, here's exactly how it works. Super simple. Step 1, you set a timer for 60 minutes. That is your entire budget for this task today. Step 2, and this is the important part, for the first 50 minutes, you are banned from research. You have to do the thing. Write the awful first draft. Make the awkward sales call. Design the ugly prototype. It doesn't matter. Just do it. Then, and only then, in the final 10 minutes, you can stop, look at what you made, and find one thing to fix for tomorrow.
What this rule does is it forces a fundamental shift in your identity. You stop being a student who just gathers information and you become a practitioner who builds real-world evidence. You stop aiming for this impossible standard of perfection and you start aiming for done. You're no longer waiting to feel motivated, you're creating that feeling through the act of doing. You stop living in some imaginary future and you start actually executing, right here, in the now. I love this metaphor. Think of your brain like wet cement. It's not fixed. It literally solidifies around the things you do over and over again. If you keep researching, you get really good at researching. But if you repeatedly act, even if it's messy, you are carving the neural pathways of a doer. You are rewiring your brain to be someone who ships work.
Okay, so let's put this into practice. Right now, I'm issuing you a challenge for the next 7 days. This is where we move from just talking about it to actually doing it. This is your practical, step-by-step tutorial to building that action identity for yourself.
The rules are incredibly simple. For the next 7 days, you commit to one 60-minute action block every day. But here's the most important rule. You are not tracking hours spent. You are tracking what you shipped. What did you finish? Did you publish that blog post? Did you send that pitch email? The only metric is output, not input. For this week, we do not care about quality. We only care that you took the action.
And let me be absolutely crystal clear about the goal here. This week is not about getting amazing results. It's about proving to yourself with cold hard evidence that you are a person who acts.
Every time you finish one of these 60-minute sessions, you're putting a tally mark in the doer column. That is the only victory that matters this week.
So that brings us to the end. The theory is explained. The path is laid out. The only question left is the one right here. Are you going to spend the next hour reading more articles about this, falling right back into the exact same trap? Or are you going to open up a timer on your phone and start? The choice is yours. The timer is waiting.